Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat. Here I am today doing quick reviews of two Adult Swim shows that debuted last night. These shows are Tim and Eric's Beef House and Three Busy Debras. Even though Beef House aired second of the two, I'm going to review that one first because of the name recognition. Which raises an interesting point right off the bat. For sure, Beef House would have bigger name recognition because of the Tim and Eric brand and how big they've been for the network in the past decade or so, or decade and a half at this point, actually. Which kind of baffles me why Three Busy Debras was given more of an elite slot at midnight compared to 12:15. But nonetheless, here's the actual review. Ultimately, I thought that Beef House was merely okay. The best part of it, like most Tim and Eric stuff, is the background characters, not necessarily Tim and Eric themselves. And for example, if you might recognize some of these people if you watched Tim and Eric stuff in the past. For example, Ron Allstar, the black guy here, is the guy who played Pierre in the Tim and Eric shows. The "What's your dad like?" Do that guy basically. And also Ben Hur, who's the older guy who's in the left in this picture. He bits how he kind of talks slowly. I liked his bits too. And those were the stronger parts of the episode were when these characters were around and interacting. However, the bits, which half the episode was just basically Tim and Eric talking to each other, were kind of just, it was the same old, same old. Really, it's one of those things where it's like the peak of their careers were Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job. Then you have bedtime stories where outside of Angel Boy, I don't think anyone really remembers it. And then now Adult Swim's given them another show for some weird reason. I guess trying to recapture the old magic of Awesome Show, which is not here. This does not. This debut episode did not remind me of the good old days of 2007. Really, the premise of the show is that it's supposed to be kind of a take on like family sitcoms in the 80s and 90s. And although it's very obvious they're trying to do this, it's an esoteric thing. If you have like a distinct memory of these shows from the past, this type of humor and what they go for in this might resonate a bit more. However, it doesn't necessarily resonate for me. But again, to sum up all parts, there were some decent moments in this episode, but at the same time, it really just more fell flat than really stuck for me. And I'm giving this about a 5 out of 10. And then the second one, Three Busy Debras. The real reason why I covered this one second is because I have less positive stuff to say about this one. If you watch the first minute of this, you've watched the entire series. And I say this just having watched the first episode because I can tell you based on the first episode probably the trajectory of the rest of the season and the rest of the series if, God forbid, this gets more than one season. Basically, if you remember something like from the mid 2000s, like Desperate Housewives or The Stepford Wives, imagine kind of a parody of that. And you realize how this gets old very fast. And although I did like for like the first minute of their like pseudo nice bickering and stuff, like they're borderline cat fighting with each other the entire time, although it was amusing for a minute or two, it really gets old fast. And like the entire point of this is like, look at this like upper upper middle class white suburbanite stereotypes. Look how absurd they are. And after like after like half a minute of it, it just gets boring because it's the same thing over and over again. There's nothing really to the show that's really that good. Nothing to really make me stick around. While something like Beef House, I could imagine them releasing an episode that's actually kind of decent. I don't see that for the show. And this show feels like the same thing over and over again for 11 minutes for as many episodes the season is. Almost like mostly for millennials, which even with as bad as Three Busy Debras is, mostly for millennials is still the absolute worst Adult Swim original show ever. But again, I could see the show surpassing that, and I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. So to sum up all parts, Beef House 5 out of 10, Three Busy Debras 2 out of 10. Not really feeling these shows that well. What do you guys think? Did you watch the episodes last night? Have you watched them online? What's your opinions on them? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I love reading your opinions down below. If you like this, if you want more Adult Swim content like this, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.